Welcome to the San Clemente Podcast, the only local podcast in the best beach town in the world. We're here to bring you weekly episodes highlighting everything from sports, culture, entertainment, politics, and everything else this beach town has to offer. Hello and welcome to the fastest growing podcast in San Clemente, California. I'm Jeff Moore, your host, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Joining me today is my brother-in-law and co-host, Ted Haberfield. We've got a very exciting guest to you coming to you live from the studio in San Clemente, Aaron Trevis. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Great to be here.
Thank you so much.
Ted. Thank you.
Yeah. So just a little bit of backstory. We had lunch at the incredible Nick's restaurant down here in downtown San Clemente, and I got to know a little bit more about Aaron and his story and what he's building. So I am very, very excited to be hosting this podcast, to be sitting here with the man, the myth, and the legend. You too, Ted.
I thought you were teaming me up. Yeah. I love it.
Ted as well. But just to kind of kick us off, Aaron, start us off and just tell us and share a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure. So Surf Lakes Global, we're a company that has developed a surf park technology. So people know us as the big plunger wave pool. So we've got a central device which creates multiple waves. And we've now brought it to America. So we now have launched Surf Lakes Global. And we're doing a cap raising campaign to bring the funds into the company and launch big time.
That's exciting. So I was sharing a little bit about my experience with the wave pool and the Waco trips that I've gone on with my family, and it's one of the most exciting. It's one of the funnest things I've ever done. And again, it's just an intermediate surfer. My family loves it, but I think what you're doing is definitely cutting edge, and you're kind of at the forefront of the wave park, wave pool, and just the whole transformation of that.
Yeah. No, thank you. Oh, it's good. There's a diversity of technologies out there, so there's a whole segment that's growing.
Yep.
And the surfers are telling us that we can be the leader, if you like, the category king in that space.
I love it.
Yeah, Aaron, tell us when wave pools even first started and why Surf Lakes has ended up being the best technology out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they actually started in the 1800s in Germany. Like there was kings making wave pools for the people. But in the recent years, you had the early technology, or first generation, if you like, at the theme parks, like a Typhoon Lagoon type thing. And you had those little pneumatic ones, just for play, just for fun. And then people started to look at how do you make a dedicated surf park. And so Wave Garden started 10 years ahead of us, and they had the first generation one, which was a Surf Snowdonia. Enland had one, and then I think it was 2015, Kelly Slater launched his crazy-looking wave at the time. And so there's been a number of them. Of course, Wave Garden's got their, second-generation tech with the Cove, and you've got a bunch of others coming in, pneumatic and different type of technologies. So we like to think ours is kind of the fourth-generation technology where you have high numbers. You've got variety happening at the same time, simultaneous variety. You've got overhead waves, Indonesian barrel quality type waves. So it's a really interesting time to be a surfer.
So Jeff, I think it's safe to say that, this is an infancy of where we're at is from an industry standpoint.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's literally just getting started. So there's an industry body in Surf Park Central, and there's Wave Pool Mag and others who are tracking the industry. So there's certainly over 100 projects planned around the world. But I compare it to a little bit like the ski industry, right? You go back to the 30s, the chairlift was invented, and suddenly instead of just crazies climbing mountains and sliding down, it opened it up to everyone. And now there's more than 6,000 ski resorts around the world. There's more than 500 in America alone. So this mountain has been turned into a fun family amenity for everyone. And we like to think we're the surf equivalent of a ski resort. Only they don't have to be on mountains. It doesn't have to be so expensive. We can build them literally anywhere in the world and have perfect waves at the push of a button every day, every night for the rest of eternity. So I'm kind of liking the idea.
That's incredible. So I'm curious to know how you stumbled into this. Like what got your start into the whole wave park and wave pool technology?
Well, like a lot of things, a little bit born out of frustration. So where I grew up in central Queensland, there's waves, there's like proper surf, but it's very inconsistent. It's a little bit like Miami, for example, right? And so I grew up surfing and just loved it, fell in love with it as a teenager. then drifted away and worked in places where there really wasn't any waves, and you had to travel an hour and a half to get a surf. And so you get married and responsible, you just drift away, right? Unless you live at a surfing destination, it's pretty hard. So, but, the inspiration for this one, I had another idea earlier, but didn't do anything with it. But this one, I was skimming rocks with my children. And as dads do, you pick up bigger boulders to show off and make a big splash. Mm-hmm. And I watched these ripples go off on the side of this lake, and there were these perfectly peeling barrels going off one after the other. Mm. So, of course, the middle-aged tragic surfer in me thought, wow, that would be amazing if that was bigger. And so because I'd had another idea before and was already tinkering in my head, this sort of morphed into something that I wouldn't leave me alone. So,
how long have you been working on this for?
Well, actively since 2012. Mm-hmm. So,
wow.
12 years now. So, a very patient wife who I had to break the news in 2012 that, hey, this is what I feel I should be doing. So, she was, I think she thought it just wouldn't work and I'd go and get a real job, but it worked, and it worked really well. And so it's been a global odyssey of prototyping, raising money, getting to the full-size wave, proving up the technology. And in that time, this whole market, this whole segment has taken off, right? So you've got the Surf Ranch now, you've got Waco with American Wave Machines, you've got different ones, and people are excited. They just know that this is the dream of every surfer, if you can just turn up and get perfect waves to yourself, right? You still don't want a paddle battle to fight for the perfect waves. But if you can get them to yourself every time, it changes surfing forever.
Absolutely.
Because, any time of the day.
I'm going to use Waco as an example. So when we've gone twice, the first time we were there, we paddled out, and Matt Bioles, one of the most famous shapers in the world, right, was out there with his kids. Yeah. And just as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about, like, he could be surfing anywhere in the world.
Yes.
But here he is out in Waco, Texas, and just amped, right?
Yeah.
The vibe out in the water, like, he was stoked. His kids were stoked. My kids were stoked. And I'm like, where else can you get this?
Yes.
And so people are so excited about that, and that's amazing.
And you know what?
To see.
Most people that are in the surfing community are fully aware of Waco. Not maybe the rest of the U.S. or around the globe, whoever's listening may be aware of it. But for surfers, everyone knows of Waco. What, though, Aaron, is like the ultimate difference? Because we're talking about almost night and day from a comparison standpoint of you've got the best going out to Waco to get warmed up for either contests or just to go out there with fun with family and friends or whatever, going all the way to the middle of the United States. What makes surf lakes, what's the biggest difference, and why is everybody so excited about it?
Yeah, it's look, the way that we generate the waves is, you've got a large ship, central generator that puts real swells. They just feel like ocean ground swells, the formation of the wave. But if you, to compare it, if you had 4 Wacos, if you like, back to back, and the waves are double the size and cleaner, that's kind of the deal. So it's what we have is very much an open lake format. We call it surf lakes for a reason. You're paddling, splitting a peak with a friend. They're all A-frames, so you get a left and a right. And this is the shock of everyone that goes there, because, everybody turns up a little maybe skeptical or not sure. And you just watch as they catch their first waves and realize it feels like the ocean. It's got the power like the ocean. And, we've seen guys get 7-second barrels going right, and you got Occy going 7-second barrel on the left. I mean, these are world-class waves, right? I think the best, description for me, there was a guy who was a minor shareholder of ours, and he was a mate of Occy's, and he came up one day when we're running probably shoulder-high waves. We weren't really running the bigger ones. This guy had owned boats in Indonesia, had surfed all the best breaks in the world, like super uber wealthy developer. So you'd think he'd be a little hard to please, right? And our marketing director at the time said, I think he's hugged me and shaken my hand 5 times during the day. Like, he lost his mind and then went straight back and put $1 million in the company. He just said, the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And we had an American group come over, and they've now taken a license here. He had surfed Waco a number of times, just come off of the back of a bunch of sessions there, so super stoked. And I said to him after the day, if I could, get a word in and say, well, what did you think? How do you compare? He just said, don't even, it's a whole nother game, a whole nother league. So that's the feedback, and I need that because I'm a pretty average to below average surfer. So I can't really compare Rocky's Peak because I'm normally going over the falls or sliding off.
I've seen you surf.
Yeah, I've had a couple.
Humble.
It's just not. Yeah, but I've never been barreled. This is the irony of this for me. This is so I'll probably get my first barrel in a surf.
Oh, then I take that statement back.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah,
No, Aaron,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say me too. Never been barreled. Have grown up on the beach and have been barreled on a.
No, in fairness, I've been
on a
in
bodyboard.
the
Yeah,
I've been
you haven't come out.
Never come out. Right?
Oh, do you know how bad I want to come out of a barrel too?
Well, this is how bad I want it. I've worked 12 years to bring this thing so I can get barreled, right?
Yeah.
God bless you. Hey, let's do this in reverse order, right?
Sure.
So tell us what is the vision of surf? Like, how big can Surf Lakes, outside of just the industry, but how big can Surf Lakes be? What do you see Surf Lakes at?
Yeah.
And then then we can kind of work into and backwards into where we're at today.
Well, I can see 1,000 surf parks around the world, and surf lakes having at least 100 of that. And so as a company, it's a multi-billion-dollar play, a global, development, operations, entertainment, hospitality precinct. So, we're looking at some of the numbers now in these projects, and the project itself could be worth $1 billion. It's that scale because we're taking half a mile of beachfront in a cow paddock somewhere and turning it into absolute beachfront, high prime development. Mm-hmm. So it's only now that I can see those things. Like when I got started, it just was not obvious at all. Whereas now we see this incredible industry, which is going to shift the face of property development and beach going and 10X surfing and all these things. Not just us, the whole industry will, but we can play a major role in it. So that's what I see. And then there's all of the global marketing layer with that and all the merchandise and related products and services. So there's a lot of fun to be had. Right now we're focused on getting the first one up, right? But that's where it can go. So, yeah, again, not obvious at the beginning. Now it's just way bigger than I could have ever thought.
I mean, you're probably, I can't even imagine, right, how much affirmation you're getting from folks not only within the surfing industry but non-surfers that just want a place to bring a family, have wholesome entertainment, because we're pretty limited, right? You've got your amusement parks, you've got, ski resorts like you mentioned, and, people just want to go out and about. So people are probably pretty excited about it. So you're probably seeing green lights everywhere on this, which is probably allowing you to wake up excited every day.
Oh, it is. It's a little overwhelming in that sense because there's just so many opportunities, right? From we've had 1,000+ inquiries now, everything from old mate and his brother-in-law who've got a farm and they think, oh, can I build one of these for $5 million? It's like, a little more, But to the other extreme, we've got collections of billionaires that own new cities that they're going to build.
Yeah.
We want to put this in as the central attraction in their city.
Which you could
because
totally
of what
see.
it's going to do. We're
Totally
talking to Saudis, we're talking all over the world. So, yeah, it's very satisfying as an inventor because, you have this spark of inspiration. You think, am I mad? Am I having a midlife crisis? But you go through it. And at some point, you have to hold it out to the world and say, hey, what do you think? And at every point, it's like, yes, that works.
Yeah,
that is amazing. And let's go. Let's do it. And so so that capital will come. We'll be building these. Eventually, I'll get barreled. It'll be great. I will cry like a baby. It'll be fantastic.
Jeff's been wanting to ask this question. Right? Can you have is there a place to just do inner tubing for Jeff?
On the beach break with you and me. That's right.
As long as you're towing me, I'm okay.
Kayaking, maybe.
Well, no, it's the ultimate form of entertainment.
Yeah.
You look at Disneyland, any of these, amusement parks or these ski resorts, people go and they're stoked, right? Yes. They have a great time, and we're lacking it in the surf industry.
And to my point is that it is for every level. So it's not just for people that want to get barreled. Yeah. You're going to have waves that are just crumbling where your little kids can get on a longboard. They can be even on a boogie board, whatever. They're getting something that's active with water moving, super healthy. You're getting outdoors. You're getting vitamin D. You're getting, you're all the elements of being out and about is just
100% for sure. You feel like you've been teleported into a totally different area, right? Yeah. You're literally like, am I in the South Pacific? Well, nope, you're in Waco, Texas, or you're in, wherever it may be, wherever you end up building. It's
can
unbelievable.
Literally create a world. It feels a bit like the Truman Show. Suddenly you've got this thing, but But you're right about the stoke, and this has been the interesting thing for me. You get these hardcore guys, surfers, investors come up, and we've all got our facade on, and I tell them all at the start of it, leave your adult at the gate, because by the end of the day, you'll be skipping, bouncing, jumping like a grommet. And that's 100% predictable and 100% the result. They just lost their minds at this, right? We had a guy, so Occy was at a fundraising event on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, nothing to do with us, but they'd auctioned all their stuff, and he was the speaker at the end of the night. So they all started yelling at him to auction a day at the surf flag. So he calls me from stage, can I do this? Yeah, go for it. So everything was being auctioned, the normal few $100, couple of $1,000s, what have you. So $15,000 later, this couple had bid to get a day at the prototype with Occy. Eventually we got them up there, and they stayed overnight and had 2 days. And he's just hugging me in tears at the end of the day. So this is the most incredible experience I've ever had. It's like I've stepped into the future, and here it is. And everyone that surfed it has said the same thing. It's just so perfect and so powerful. It's like you've been transported to somewhere in Indonesia, but no one's fighting for waves. We all wait our turn. We're all talking. And this is an interesting dynamic, because in most surf breaks, you might chat to your mate a little bit, but even your friend's a competitor at some point. When the set's coming, it's like, shut up, we're going.
Yeah, you're jockeying for
that's
position.
It. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So there's this sort of gladiator mentality at Trestles and Snapper and all these other things. And whereas at this case, it's all gone. It's like watching puppies in an off-leash park compared to protecting their turf. It's that sort of reaction. And so many people have said to me at the end of the demo, it's like, this is the most fun I've ever had surfing in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is that sort of deal. And every surf park brings that. This just brings it to another level, to more people at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it'll never replace surfing out in the ocean, right? And that's what's great about it. You're not trying to do that, right? There's a huge market and a huge demand for exactly what you're building.
Yeah. No, I've only surfed Kira once, and it was sort of head high, a bit overhead, and I was on a longboard doing it was a Christian surfers, charity thing. I wanted to catch 25 waves for the day, nearly killed my silly self. But it was, I caught a few waves at Kira for the first time in my life, and I thought, well, it's really hard to replace that. When you see that cranking, it's world class.
So I got a question. How long do you think it would take from inception, from once you've identified a perfect property, the great location, how long do you think it would take to build something like this out?
So the actual build will be 18 months, and then you've got, prior to that, all the approvals and funding and what have you. So it's typically 18 months again. So you've got, a few years before, and that's why these things are slow to get up, because we've got people who have licenses and they're trying to identify the right sites. Now, many of them have. There's 2 that are very close to approval in America. So one in Riverside County, one in Austin, Texas, that we expect could be under construction, both of them this year. So, we want 1 in America, then we want 2, then we want 10 across the state. So the one in Riverside's 90 minutes drive from San Clemente. Yeah. I've lost count of the times I've had to drive 90 minutes to get a pretty crappy wave with 200 of my best friends. So to have that it's a done deal. It'll get.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah. Again, people where I live in my community in San Clemente drive up to Big Bear. They drive up to Wrightwood. They drive up to Snow Summit, which is a 2.5 hour drive. Yeah.
Just for a Mammoth, like nonstop.
Nonstop, 6 hours. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How important are the decisions that you're making right now as the leader and visionary of the company in terms of who you partner with, the locations you decide to go into, the markets you go into? Yeah. How important is that?
Yeah, it's pretty critical. But for us, what really matters now is just getting one open. So the one in Australia is fully approved. We're pulling funding in now to do that. And these other ones, what's happened is that we did no outbound marketing as such. We just showed the waves to the world and got ridiculous media coverage for that. And so right now, it's really the Sun Belt of America, but we are getting inquiries in Quebec and Toronto and Chicago and these sort of places where the winters are a little harsh. So, you either cover it with a dome or operate for 8 or 9 months of the year. But what's interesting is on our model, because of the number of waves, and particularly when you think of summer and how utterly ridiculous and busy it'll be, 9 months is more than enough to get a really solid return on these. And so, and we're being very conservative with the pricing. We're sort of pricing in the fact that once you have them spread across the country, you won't have to charge $200, $300 an hour. you can charge a normal sort of well under $100 and still make it very, very profitable. So, yeah, we think we're being very sober about it. But when you layer in the property development side of it, it's a pretty staggering opportunity. So, but yeah, so at the moment there's some key areas that have been placed. There's still a lot of space for others in America.
If Jeff was going to write one check to build out a project, which I know he has in his bank account, what's that check look like to do one project outside of the property and resort type of?
It's a great question.
Yeah, look, most of the projects, so the surf lake cost will vary depending on the state and the country, So, but most of the ones in America are in the 100, 110 mil as a project. That includes some build on the perimeter. That includes, shade structures and retail and F&B and all of that. So that's really what you're looking at. Except, the Vegases of the world might be, over in the billions.
Yeah, gotcha.
For those finance people that are listening on the podcast today.
Yeah.
What is that? When does that? What's the cash flow? What's the return on something like that as you build out that project?
We've got to be a little careful what we say, but there's certainly comps out there with other surf parks and the pricing of that. But when you translate that into the models that our partners are doing, they're telling us that it's a 3 to 5 year payback on that.
Gotcha.
And that's, again, conservative rates, very conservative.
We won't hold you to that.
No, I'm just saying. But I guess what I'm saying, we can actually see a much bigger upside.
Sure.
But the problem is, if you actually wrote in what you think's going to happen, it's so ridiculous that I just can't sell that. It's so.
Well, so $110 million project is probably going to be worth and valued in a 2 or 3 year period.
Yeah.
$1 billion probably per project.
Yeah.
Got it.
I can tell you for a fact that if we were sitting on 110 million cash right now, Ted and I would write that check tomorrow because we believe in it so much.
That's right.
Absolutely. I would love nothing more.
Yeah.
Did you say it was about $100? Did I catch that per person?
No, I'm saying we're modeling it at well under 100
per person. If someone wants to come surf
for an hour session, right?
Okay. And for comparison, if we compare that to the wave park that is in, is it Lemoore, Kelly Slater's wave park? Yeah. That cost is
it's $500 a ride,
per wave for one ride.
So,
exactly.
So it's very much a private,
affordable
club experience, which is amazing. I've had the privilege of going there a couple of times.
I've heard it's incredible.
Builder.
Yeah.
How much is a Disneyland ticket these days? Is it like $75?
Probably more than that. Probably yeah. I think it was $125, but exactly.
But it's an amusement park ticket ride.
Yeah.
In a sense, yeah. I mean, the idea being that if you have a surf session, you can still stay around the perimeter all day and watch. And this is the thing. There are so many people who just will sit there like I would and just watch the action and then walk over to the other corner and watch the barrels and watch the longboarders. Like you could spend the whole day there, never be bored.
Yeah.
It is the coolest thing.
Where's Dad?
Yeah.
Just getting barreled. Mom's laying out.
Again, going back to Waco, right? Yeah. When we were there, you had two of the top pros out there practicing before they had the contest at the surf ranch. Exactly. So you've got that. And then what about like a training facility for?
Yeah. We had Surfing Australia come up with their Olympic team, surfing the slab.
Yeah.
This overhead beast. Because Chopu, the Olympics this year, it's at Chopu at Tahiti. Well, how do you train for Chopu apart from going to Chopu? We've got the wave that duplicates that. And so they were absolutely loving it. They wanted to sign an industry partnership straight away.
That's your first wave, Joe.
Yeah, Chopu.
That's
incredible.
In the inner tube.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Tow me in. Tow me in.
You want content? We'll give you content.
Exactly. Exactly. And then you've got the Olympics in 2028 coming here.
Correct.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Look, at this stage, their official line, it's in the ocean. But for us, you don't need the Olympics for these things to be a great success. But, gee, it helps in terms of the aspiration. And so there's conversations overseas where countries are deciding to choose a technology so they can train for the Olympics. So we had a discussion with Surfing England. They totally recognise that the technologies that's available at the moment is great. It's fun and everything. But they said to us point blank, if we don't have a surf lake here in the UK and you've got them in America and Australia, we'll be left further behind. So there's a bit of an arms race. It's a bit like, snowboarding and the half pipe. If you don't have a half pipe,
Yeah.
well, how the hell are you going to compete, right? And so we've built the mountain as well as, all of that in the comparison. So, and then that's before we think about the bigger versions, right? So we've already got 9-foot face slabs. That's generally more than enough for
Yeah.
people. But it just gets interesting because you can just scale that up. It's exactly the same thing at a bigger scale, same ratio, same pressures, all of that. Yeah, there's bigger cost to it, but there's advantages that come with that as well. So I'm really looking forward to that side of it in the future as well. Is, who's going to build me a double XL, right? Who's going to give me a 15-foot pipeline at the push of a button?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
is it Texas? Is it Saudi?
Ooh.
Is it California? I don't know, but it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but let's build one,
Yeah.
get it open first, and
Yes.
then we'll roll into that.
Can we talk about the Vegas location at all, or is that?
There is one. Can't say too much,
Okay.
except that,
Well, that's good. Let's leave the audience, right,
Yeah,
wanting more.
Yeah. No, it is. And that's, look, I was saying to Ted, I went to U2 at the Sphere, and mind-blowing experience. And it helped me understand Vegas. It just helped me understand the ambition of the city, and it was the greatest show on earth for me to go to that thing. It was just wild. Then I think about the project that we're going to build there, and it'll be a bucket list experience. Like, it is just going to be incredible just to look at it, let alone surf it and be there amongst the whole thing. So
yeah, for those that
I
are
can't
familiar
wait.
with Vegas, there's absolutely nothing to do outdoors other than to walk the strip, or maybe get a golf in, but it might be too hot for that. So if you can imagine an outdoor healthy activity, or maybe lay out the pool, obviously, if it's open, right? But just to have a healthy place to go out, grab some waves, and then go out and do whatever you'd like to do, go to shows or do whatever. But I mean, that's going to be an incredible project once it goes off.
It will be phenomenal.
Yeah. It'll be massive. Gosh, I just can't stop thinking about how many different ways and plays in real estate, and the sky's the limit, truthfully, in something like this.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, I try to help people who aren't into surfing understand it, that, they understand beachfront development, right? So Huntington is Surf City. Again, you got that half a mile. You could build that from scratch. That's what you've got, except it's better because it's a controlled environment. It's safe. There's no sharks. You can learn to surf in a perfect environment. And even if you wanted to, through the night, you could just have the machine bobbing up and down a little bit and creating little wave noise, as you go to bed, and you got the waves coming through in the resort. So it's very, very cool. We're just, and like I said, you got to understand the industry is just getting started. So we don't really know how far it could go. We talk 1,000. There could be double, triple that number.
Which is why it's
such private ones, public ones, a mix of, because we've got 4 surf parks in one. You could split it down the middle, have a big gated community on one side, and it's open to the public on the other.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Would be amazing. From a business perspective, that's cool.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're in the right place and just in the hub of surfing here in San Clemente.
Yeah.
How do we get you connected with local people here in South Orange County that may want to be a part of this, or be an investor, or just participate in the company and where you're at right now?
Yeah, so we're doing a crowdfunding now.
Okay.
And so really, if you go to our website, just www.surflakes.com, and you'll find out more. That way is probably the easiest way. For me, it's easy to find. We're just down near the Rip Curl base there at San Clemente. So we've got a little office there, and we want to be building up the company across America.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I
absolutely.
mean, we talked some big numbers today, right? I mean, but there is a way for those that have, not maybe super affluent or whatnot, that can actually be a part shareholder in this company.
Yeah.
And you can be a part shareholder as little as $300, $400 or whatnot. You can put it on a credit card. Let's talk about that crowdfunding a little bit more. So for those that are listening globally right now, right, we've got a crowdfunding that's available to them through what you call a Reg S, right? So if you're over 18 years old, whether you're accredited or non-accredited, you can actually participate now by going to Surf Lakes, hit the Invest Buy button, go through a 5-minute process, and the next thing you know, you're a part owner in something that is at the beginning of history from a wave park perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real special thing to be a part of.
That's very cool.
And then soon, in about 3 weeks from now, if you're accredited or not accredited in the U.S., you'll be able to participate.
Yep.
And the good news right now, if you're an accredited investor, you actually can participate.
Correct.
And again, you can go to the website at surflakes.com. And
Get
so
involved.
if you're sitting back saying, hey, is there a way I can get involved on a small scale and be a part of history, go to the website, figure it out more. There's contact information. You got plenty of people that'll be able to answer your questions too and be a part of history.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you, man.
I reference it too, right?
Yeah.
Into like the early 2000s. If someone could shake you and be like, guess what? The internet's about to hit.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Trust me, you want to be a part of this. It's going to change the landscape.
Yeah.
Or this, like we were talking about, the slopes, right? The mountains, right?
Yeah.
Trust me, you can be
go
a
back
part
in
of that
time.
if you can go back in
Yeah.
time. And right now is one of those times in history where you can actually be a part of something that is going to change the landscape, and it's
Surf Lakes'
rad.
business model is community, right?
Exactly.
So opening up and allowing for thousands of investors to come in and all share with this is the spirit and the culture that Aaron's been able to establish at Surf Lakes.
That's incredible.
Really special.
And you go back to it being a healthy outdoor activity, right? You get kids and adults and everybody, right? Off screens, off technology, outdoors, doing a healthy activity, something that they can get exercise in and be passionate about. So that's amazing.
It's huge. Yeah.
That's huge.
So look, we've got a motto internally that says everyone gets a break. And it's relates obviously to the waves, but also what we're trying to foster in the culture of the team and the values. And when we run these parks, that it's really got to be something for everyone, right? And we love. Recently, we had a small sponsorship in an adaptive surfing competition. So we've got Mark Mono Stewart and Sam Bloom, who are both adaptive world champions. And so we went to that event in Byron Bay. It was phenomenal, and there's that whole segment of the community of people who need, they've got physical issues or injuries, and they need to actually have different craft, and that space is growing huge as well. So it's whether you just like to be at the beach, learning to surf, or training for the Olympics, anything in between that, you're welcome. So you can fit in, which is cool. Even middle-aged tragics like me.
I can't wait to see
and
him surf.
affordable.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and affordable though. That is a big hot button where anybody can do it.
Yes, and also they do, and this is from my own diligence.
Yes,
they do have the best technology of the ones that are out there right now. So I know, Aaron can say that, but from somebody that's not an owner or a member of Surf Lakes, to be able to know and go to communities or go to events, go to circles that all are wave park, industry specialists and experts. And that is the message on the street, that Surf Lakes does have the best technology. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's huge. So everybody that's listening, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, make sure to like this video. Make sure to share this video. If you want to be a part of Surf Lakes and what Aaron is doing, please get in touch with him. All the information will be down on the description below. Again, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ted.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thank you for listening in. Join us for another episode next week, coming to you from our studio on Del Mar in downtown San Clemente. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at the San Clemente Podcast and subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify so you never miss an episode.